Okay, so now that we have hello, is everyone here? Everyone can be here. That is here. Hold on. Headphones. All right, guys. How are you doing? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir. We're okay.
Oh, wow. Oh, chirpy, aren't we? All right. How is studio going? When is your next deliverable?
Tomorrow, sir.
Oh, what do you have? Interim?
Well, no, we have like a final discussion before the final Friday.
Oh, so your next crit will be on Friday. So this is like the calm before the storm.
Yes, sir.
All right, I get you. I get you. I get you. Okay, well, I don't envision that we will be long, but we are, I would say that we are, I will raise just a little bit of an eyebrow towards our schedule, because last week we did have to I did give you guys like this alternate video that you could use. What did I do? Yeah, right. I did give you this alternate video that you could use to help you with that checkpoint. So the question is, has anybody show by the thumbs up? Show by the thumbs up those who have successfully not started checkpoint 2. Okay, that's not too bad. Though it could be that the persons who didn't answer because they are really not here. Is that so? Okay, so I see there are a couple people who have successfully not started checkpoint 2. Now, okay, let me save this. I have some good news and some bad news for the persons who have not started as yet. Now, part of that has to do with what I'm doing here, right? I am actually saving out a updated recording for, oh, hold on. Is this loud? Is my background loud? Can you guys hear my voice okay?
Yes, we could hear you. Okay.
Okay, all right, cool. Just making sure. Oh. And we are on checkpoint 2. Okay. Checkpoint 2. Foundation. Right. So as I was saying, some good news for those of you who have not managed to start that checkpoint as yet. I did do some updated videos. Give me by way of another thumbs up those who have managed to look on those videos that I had posted, that I've given you a link to. Can I get Or thumbs up on those? Or thumbs down? Well, just thumbs up if you have managed to watch. Okay, so some of us managed to watch it. That's good. There we go. Okay, so let's take a look on our schedule to see where we're at. All right, so we should be familiar with the class website by now. So if we head over to here, the 3D modeling. All right, so currently we are pretty much in the middle of checkpoint 2. So after today, checkpoint 2 will become due on the 29th. Now remember, when you go beyond the date, it's a percentage a day. So please do not, these early checkpoints, you don't want to miss them and be handing them in near to the middle of the semester. All right, because a percentage a day, one whole month is 30%. So please, guys, if I'm gonna, as I said, I'm gonna try to keep you on a schedule, and if you stick with me with this schedule, it'll be done before you know it, right? At least before the wave of the final crit. At least that's what we're aiming for. Now, so last week we had to work on the foundation model, and I gave you guys a link that you can use. Now that link, it's a bit outdated. I would have probably done something a little bit more up to date in the class, but that was the best option that I had, because I didn't want us to totally miss out on that class, because we only have these tutorials on a Monday, right? So now the good news is that I did update those tutorials. So those who have not started the foundation model, you will have the benefit of starting with a more updated tutorial. And I don't know if we can fit it in this class, but let's see. Because the work on the 3D terrain, this is fairly simple, right? So we can actually get through this in, I don't know, like half an hour. So does anybody have their Rivet ready? Even if you don't have the foundation model done, you can still start your terrain, right? Okay, guys?
So where did you drop the link for the video for the foundation?
Right. So you mean the one that I gave last week?
Yes, sir.
Right. So all of the recordings, right, guys? All of the recordings are, go back to here. Right. So all of the recordings
No, sir.
are
Not the class recording, but the other video that you said that we should watch.
right. I had actually just put it in class recordings to make it easy for you
Okay.
guys to find. So okay, so you know where that is, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now I do have an updated tutorial that I want to go through, but first we're going to stick with the schedule first. Well, let me see. It's now 9:21. How much people have? Okay, just a few people. So I'm assuming that everybody who did not raise their hands, they have already completed their foundation model. Is that true?
No, sir. I'll be
Yeah.
honest.
Oh, okay. Right.
Uh,
Right. So here's my next question. Are we working on, so that does that mean we're working on the foundation model today? Majority of persons, but at least the persons who are here, because this is like half of the class. So let's start from that end, which is to look on the foundation model. So we're going to try to look on that today, and also on the terrain. I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the terrain first, because first I'm going to stick to the schedule, and then I will see if we have time to track back on the foundation model and the updated version. All right, so working on the 3D terrain. Remember, guys, checkpoint 3 is the big one. So we want to have this down to start checkpoint 3. All right. Okay, so let's take a look on this model. Now, as I said, guys, I'm actually doing the project with you. So, and I do this from time to time. I will work on a project and create some tutorials. So I plan on creating some tutorials, some additional tutorials for this. Some of them we will look on in class. Others you might just get as a separate thing. Okay, so now this is my model. Let me open it up for you guys. Where is it? It is somewhere. It is somewhere. Okay, I know where it is. It's here. Okay. And working files. Here we go. I'm going to open this file here. Oh, my battery is finished. I don't have enough plugs. %. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Okay, right. So as I was saying, I'm going to open this model. I'm going to open this version. All right. So this is what something like this is what most people should have. Now, in my case, I had a very kind of over complex foundation, and I chose to do it that way because I don't think anybody else should. Right. Can everybody see the screen okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, so this is just a quick example of something like what you should have. In my case, it is like a lake thing, but it doesn't matter if it's a river or anything like that. I do have a 2-tiered foundation. I would suggest that you guys keep it simple. I tried to do this example complex, just in case anybody wanted to do it complex. I don't think whatever you're doing should not be more complex than than the one that I'm doing. Please, guys, let's keep it simple so that we can finish. So this is pretty much what you're submitting for checkpoint 2. And the updated videos I have is showing how we created this, which there are some new features that Revit has that at that time it didn't have, and some new techniques. So I think it will be beneficial. All right, so let's check out creating the site for those of us who already have the site. And then if we have time, we'll go back to the model. Okay, so now that we have the base, now we're going to create the terrain. And if we look at our original... Quick question, are you guys getting the audio? Guys?
Yes, sir, we're here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So then, as I said, this is for those who have already have the terrain. Now, if you don't have the terrain already, you can still work on this. The idea, guys, is that we want to work on it in class so that when you leave class, you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the week. Okay? All right. Okay, let's proceed. Sketch. The idea was that we would have the building kind of sitting halfway between the land and the water, right? Kind of like this. This is what we had. And also we had some reference images. So in order to create our terrain, we're going to go here. We're going to go back to architectural, to the level 1 plan. Now to make this easier, what we're going to do is we're going to switch. This is Revit 2024, so it has a dark mode. Because we're dealing with terrain, we're going to switch it to, so we're going to go to view and switch to light. All right, because I think some of the colors will work a little bit better, right? So okay, so the general idea, this is a section line, we're going to just put it down here. All right, the general idea is we have something like our land, which is something like this, and then we have these terrain lines, and it's basically sloping downwards to the water, and then we have the water that's here. So that's basically what we're going to repeat here. Now the difference is we are going to do it a little bit more efficient than what we had in the sketch, but we're still going to reference our sketch. So first thing we need to do, we need to grab the sketch that we had. That's this. So I had saved it out into a file. So now I'm going to go to manage. I'm going to go to, yes, manage. And then I go to, I'm looking for links, right? Manage links. And what I'm going to, if I look on the images, I see where I have already inserted this link already, right? So we did have this link here. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose OK. We can go back to our schematic sketch. Here we had this, and we're going to copy this over to floor plan. We're going to paste it in here. Now notice when we paste it, it's pretty big. Now we are going to make it a little smaller, and we are going to, the most important thing is that we need to know what these levels are, and we also need to scale it. So in our case, and I don't think this drawing was to scale anyway, so we will take these contours with a grain of salt, so to speak. So if I put it like here, so it's round about there where I had the water kind of going in here, right? Now, if my contours were very specific, I could actually trace this view here. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to extend my page boundaries, or if I want, I can just turn it off, and I can just disable it and turn it off, right? All right, now, first thing we want to do, we don't want to have a square land, because that's going to affect our 3D views, because the world doesn't end, you know, right here. So what we're going to have is more of a rounded view, rounded base, and make it a little bit bigger. And that way we'll be able to, when we're doing 3D views, it won't look so weird. So to do this, we're going to head over to Massing on Site. We're going to go to TopoSolid, and we're going to insert using a circular tool. But before we do that, we're going to go on the right level. Now, according to this, we wanted the land to be at around 0 here. Now, this is a sketch, so it may not have been very practical for some of the elements, but one thing that we want to keep in mind is the slope. We do have the slope 1 meter slopes that's happening. So go here. So those of you that did the terrain, right? What you should do now, you should have on your terrain drawing. So let me go back to the website here. And let me go here to the class mirror board. So if you notice, well, this was the initial sketch that I did. Notice that there are terrain lines and the terrain lines have numbers. So this is going to be important for when you're doing the site, because these are the numbers that you're going to plug into the program in order to get the slope. All right, guys. Are you here?
Yes, sir.
All right. Or at least you're half here. All right, let's proceed. So what we would do is we would set our topo solid to be, we want to set that to be below the ground floor. So perhaps we will do waterline. So if you remember from our original sketch, we did determine that we want to have a waterline that is below the top of foundation, right? So that's what we're going to do. So we have the waterline level and we want to draw the initial solid on the waterline level, the topo solid, which is the topography. Now we're using the circle tool because we want to actually draw something like this. And then let's see if we can move it to like the center. So now we make it a little bit bigger and we don't have these hard corners, which would look kind of weird when you render a view and it looks like the hill just ends at a weird corner. So we're not going to have that. All right. So now that we have that, now we're going to choose OK. And then we have our base that looks like that. So if we look in our 3D view, we're going to have something that looks like this. And if we go to shaded, this is the general color. It has a little bit of a thickness that's here. And these are all things that you can set in the settings. Now, what we need to do now is insert the contour lines. It's a little tricky because we can't see the contours, but we could go to wireframe. And that will allow us to see these contour lines here. Now, the general idea is that we want to trace these contour lines, but we also want to extend them to the edge of the circle. The more important thing is we want to keep the levels, right? So what we need to do is to click on the topo solid, and then we're going to choose add points. Now, when we add points, we're simply adding a contour line to our drawing. Now, when we talk about contours, if we look on our example here, we can see that how contour lines work is each point represents an area on a slope, right? So if we should cut this contour, this terrain in half, and we look at where the points intersect and we plot a graph, you can see that this point here is equal to this point here, and this point here is equal to this point here, and so forth. And if we draw a line, we can now get an idea of the slope. So each of these contour lines has a different height. That's the difference. So this height here is taller than this height, is taller than this height, and so forth. And for every time we plot a height, we connect them to get the slope. So to create these contour lines, what we're going to do is we're going to look at these levels closely and we are going to trace them based on these levels. However, we're going to extend the lines all the way to our boundaries or circular boundary. So to do that, we're going to go to massing on site. Well, we already have the massing, so we're just going to click on it and then we're going to choose add points. And these points here are equivalent to the actual heights of each contours. So what we're going to do is we have to make sure that we choose absolute because we want the points to change height based off of a fixed location. And that fixed location, we're going to make it be the current level. So the current level, we are at waterline. So it's kind of like saying this is the water level. And every level we do is going to be based on referencing that water level. So it's going to be above the water level or below the water level, right? So let me show you this. In this example here, this was the final version of my initial sketch, right? And the idea is that I had two different levels for my ground floor, and then my upper floor is just on one level, right? So you can kind of see where we went from this initial quick sketch to a more refined sketch here. So now, can you guys see these lines here clearly on your screen? All of these dash lines.
Yes, sir.
So these lines represent levels, and you will see them a bit more when we look on the foundation process. But the idea is that there is also a level for the water, right? Because we're going to use that as the reference level when we're doing our terrain. Like, how high is this point from the level of the water? That's why we have a reference level here. So that's the level that we're referring to. All right. Make sure you choose current level here, and make sure that we're going to choose a different height. So the first thing we're going to choose is 1 meter, so 1,000 millimeters, and then we're going to trace this off that 1,000 millimeter line. Now, as we trace these points here, a good rule of thumb is to maybe try to make them even as possible. It doesn't have to be super precise. Remember that a terrain is organic, right? So it's supposed to be like messy. Now, when it goes beyond where you have sketched, you're just going to make this up, and you're going to go all the way to the edge here. And we're going to continue this side. It doesn't matter if you stop here, then continue there. It doesn't matter, all right? So we are going to continue this. Oops. I think my height wasn't set, so I'm going to set that back to 1,000. Yeah, all right, cool. Now, if you get any messages while you're drawing this, just choose OK and ignore it, because as you notice, you can see these lines being generated. And if I bring up my 3D view, you can see where you're starting to get some heights, which it might look a little funny now, but as we go, we'll see the difference. So I'm going to leave this view here, and I'm going to dock it to the right. And we're going to continue.
Sir, the video has stopped. And we're not hearing.
Oh wow, I was here talking to myself the whole time. Okay, let me start again. I was asking the question, why did I draw the terrain as a circle?
So that could look good on 3D views.
Ah, okay, great. A while ago I was wondering, why nobody not answering me? Is there nobody there? But obviously I was muted. All right, so exactly. Because when we generate the views, it's going to look weird if your view, if your world just comes to a sharp angle and ends, right? And remember, we did have some reference views, so we want to try and get some beautiful images. Did anybody else take any reference images to any kind of inspiration images based on their design? Anybody? 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 Nobody looked up any pictures? Nope. So I well, probably you guys are already advanced with the model already. But I want you to also see if you can find, just use Pinterest, Google, whatever, right? See if you can find something that is similar to what you are creating, something simple. Like some parts of this are not simple, but some parts are. But the reason for this reference is when we come to create the rendered images, we're going to come back to these images, right? So I'm going to, I didn't ask to submit a reference image because this is something that is to your benefit. But when I started to do my sketch, um, I started from getting a reference image and then created like a simple version here. All right. As I said, these images will come back when it's time to render to make your rendering life a little bit more streamlined. All right. Okay. Let's proceed. New drawing this contour. So we're going to choose this and we're going to go to add points again. This time we're going to go up to 2000 millimeters. And we're going to look for that 2000 line and then we are going to do the same. Now I want this to pretty much be averagely the same distance between these points here. You don't have to be super scientific about it. Just kind of sketch it. And then of course we're going to make up these areas here. So you can see that the slope is starting to take form. Let's make up these areas here. And we're going to do the same thing now with 3000. So by the way, guys, I want you to keep in mind that the reason why I'm suggesting that we work on this during class is I'm telling you, when you're doing it, you can't ask a video recording questions. So there will be stuff that starts to go wrong. Like, I don't know, you're trying to draw the contour lines and it giving you error messages and it's just not working out. Like there are actual things that will happen while you're creating the model. And if I'm not around or somebody who knows the program or at least knows what the section that you're doing, you're going to find that you're hitting some roadblocks. All right, guys. So even if you're not able to do this drawing now, see if you can ask some questions that you think you'll have problems with, which that will not be as potent or as viable as if you were actually working on a project. Because I'm telling you, I don't know if you guys have ever done a tutorial. Everything in the tutorial video is fine, but when you press the exact same button, it doesn't do that for you. And, you know, that is what we want to solve while we're in class. All right, Rochelle? Right, Rochelle?
Right, sir.
All right. All right. And we're going to keep going. 6,000. So you can see that the contour lines that we're drawing here, even though it doesn't go all the way to the end of the circle, we still follow it so that it remains accurate here. Does anybody have any of your housing project? Are there on any slopes, by the way, that you're doing for studio? Or is it all flat land?
Sir, we haven't started yet. Well, the sites are flat, but we haven't started the assignment yet, sir. We're still doing the site analysis presentations. This final presentation that they're talking about is a final site analysis on Friday.
Yeah, I figure. But I was just wondering if okay, so everybody has flat land basically, so no one has to really worry about terrain. Is there anybody that is incorporating any kind of levels in there? Well, actually, you don't know yet because you're only dealing
Right,
with
sir. When I reach the design.
exactly. And if the land is flat, then chances are you don't have to worry about different levels. So, okay. So that is one of the things that we also cover in 3D modeling as well. Now, this terrain is fairly simple. So maybe you're not dealing with a terrain for this project, maybe for your next one. But this is just a feature that you need to know how to use, most definitely. Next year in BIM, we're going to be using terrain as well when we're doing computing in BIM. So it will be kind of like a refresher, but a bit more complex than this, because this is just a simple little slope, right? Based on a sketch. Okay. All right. Now I want to show you something in just a bit. I'm going to just do another like here. Oops. Yes, this is 10. Oh no, this is 1,000. So I'm gonna put 10. There we go. That always catches me. Point. And the beauty about this is the trick is that when you type something in any one of these options, once you move the mouse outside it, it's like pressing the enter button. So if you move outside, then press enter, then you're gonna actually do the last command. So just remember that. So if you type up here and you move the mouse out, you don't need to press enter. It will press enter for you. All right. Right. So one of the beauty about this is that whenever you do the terrain in Revit, here we go. Right. You can always go back. So for example, I can go to modify sub elements, and I can actually change any one of these points. So I can adjust my terrain. So if I wanted this area here to be flat behind where the deck is, I can just actually go in and modify these areas like that, right? And I know that it looks rough, but we're gonna smooth it up before we render. So those are just some other general tips. Some of you may have flat areas for your model. So all that means is that when you draw these contour lines, some of them will have the same, the same elevations. But for me, each one of these dots here have a different elevation. So everything here has a higher elevation than here. Now, guess what? You still will use the terrain tool even if you are drawing on a flat piece of land. So for example, when you finish your site analysis and then you need to do things where you show your roadway parking, all that kind of stuff, the proper way to model is to use the terrain, the topo tool. Is just that now your topo is completely flat. All right, guys. So I don't want to see anybody using like a floor slab for their studio model, right? One thing with Rivet, it kind of forces you to use the right tool for the job. So if you're doing a terrain, then use a terrain tool. If you're doing a floor slab, use a floor slab. And if you're doing a roof, you do a roof. All right, so pretty much this is the side that goes up towards the hill section there. And let me just go back to my sketch here. Let me see if I have, okay, well, it was something like this. Right, so for the terrain, I put this as 0, and then I went up from that point. So as this is 0, then I'm going to go down to go underneath the water. Save, it's a good point to save, so I'm going to save as again. Now we're going to go below the water. So this was from 1 up. So now we're going to go -1. So we are going to go to add point, and now we're going to go -1. That's great. Now we're going to go -2. Oops. Yeah. Yes. So the reason we're getting that is because we are going below the thickness of the slab. So we need to fix that actually. So let's see if we can say. So I don't know if you guys realize that because the slab is so thin, this might happen to you as well. That we can't go any lower, but we can fix that if we click on the terrain here and go to edit type, and we see that we can change the structure of the terrain just like how we can change the structure of the floor slab, right? Because technically it is a slab. It's just that it's made out of earth and sand and grass. So we can let the earth go down by like, I don't know, like 5,000 millimeters. So we can make it 5,000 millimeters thick. So now the earth is much thicker. So we can now continue to go downwards within this thickness. So let's go back here and let's see. So we are at so we need to be at -1. So we're going to do that now. So we're going to go to add point and we're going to say -1,000. Oh, we have 1 already. So it's really -2,000. Then -3,000. then what we can do is pretty much the rest of the points, we can make it flat. So we could actually, in the 3D view, select these other points. So that this point here, and we can just make this point be minus 3000. There we go. So now it goes down and pretty much just levels out. All right. And there we have it. We now have our terrain. And we have it where we can see that we have our land, and then we have our building that's now here. Okay, so now that we have the site, we do need to add a few more elements. So for reference, we are going to be adding some trees and a water body, right? So we're going to add the water body out here. So first thing, so let's add the water body. Now to do that, we can go to our floor plan and we can actually hide this. Let's hide this element here. And if you notice, when you look at the site element, you notice that it's cut here. And the reason it's done that is because this is where our cut plane is, right? If we look at the side view, maybe this side would be better. Right. You can see that we do have our level, and then we have a cut plane. So it is cutting the terrain as well, right? Now, that doesn't necessarily matter for us, but in terms of doing a construction drawings, you would want to adjust your view range so that you're able to see the full terrain for your site plan. In our purposes, we're not going to be creating site plans, but this is, I just mentioned that as a FYI information. All right. So let's work on our land now. So we go to top view, and for the land, sorry, for the water, I'm thinking that we can also do a curve as well. So we're going to do a custom shape for that. So for that, we're going to go to the model in place. So we're going to choose model in place, and we are going to model, and we can model under these categories. I don't think water is a category. So we're just going to choose generic model and choose OK. And we're going to name this water level. We're going to call this water object or something like that, or water surface. All right. And now this is going to change up here to some modeling tools. So for example, we can extrude and do these modeling functions. For what we're going to do, we just need to do an extrusion. That's pretty straightforward. So we're going to click extrude. And what I'm suggesting is the water is going to go a bit, inside the terrain. But I would want the water to be a little bit wider than the terrain actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the circle tool. And I want to be, I will set the levels after we draw this. Let me see if I can. Yeah, let me go and set my ground plane, and I'm going to set it to be waterline. Right. So now I'm going to draw a circle. Kind of like that. And this circle, I think I'm going to move it down, maybe like about that. So this becomes my water, because this part of the water is going to be pretty much inside the land. So this is fine. In terms of my extruded height, So I can click this here. I'm going to choose OK. And then for the, so it starts here and I want it to go negative. So I want the thickness of my water to be like maybe, because, you know, I don't need for the top of the water to have a thickness. I just need the water to go to the ground. I could use a 3D view and I could just adjust the thickness of this to meet the ground like that. So now I have something like this and I'm going to choose OK. All right, so that's great. Of course, I can select this now and I can change the material. So I can go where it says generic models. I can go to edit type. And really not here. We have to go into the model that we created. So like this, it's kind of like, think of it as kind of like a wrapper. And inside that wrapper is the model we created. So we need to open this wrapper by going to edit in place, right? So it's just telling us that we have some duplicate values, but that's okay. Now we're inside the model. Now we want to, so inside the model, we can change things like the height and the shape and all of this stuff and the material. So we're going to go make sure we're under modify. We're going to go here to the materials tab and we're going to find water and we're just going to click the surface here and we could actually just click the side as well and the bottom. So this whole thing is just water. And we choose done. Then we choose OK. All right. So now we have water level that's there. Now remember, we are going to go ahead and render these views. So we're not going to worry too much about the water material and these things. We just need it to be represented here. All right. Now the next thing we want to do is we need to add maybe some trees. Now to do that, we're going to need to import those families. So we need to go to insert and then we're going to go to load family. And we are going to look under the same US category and then we're going to look for site. And under site, we see a few things here. So let's go to, no, actually not site. We're going to look for plant or planting, right? And then these are actually family groups. So we can choose tropical and open that. Then now when we go to architectural, that comes under the component category. So we can go to add component. And here we go. Now, the good thing is that this is 6 feet tall, but if you click this, there are different types of tropical plants. So for example, we have a hurricane palm that's 12. And all you need to do is just stick them randomly. Let's go with the grass palm. The tallest one is the royal palm. So this one is pretty tall. So we can place these. And then again, guys, this is just representational. So then what we could do, let's go back to insert and load family. We could load some of these deciduous. Yeah. Now, you might notice that these trees look a little weird because they're like flat. And that's because it's using a type of, let's call it a tree plugin that's called RPC trees. I'm going to just mix it up a little bit. So I'm going to choose this other one here. And what it is, it looks plain in the viewport, but when it renders, it looks like an actual tree. Now, we're not too much worried about that because we are not going to be rendering in Revit anyway. But we're still going to place these objects, which will make rendering in other programs much easier. All right, so we're going to save this. And for good measure, what we're going to do is we are going to create a new 3D view. We're going to create a camera view that will give us a perspective shot so we can kind of see how everything is looking. So we're going to go to view. And then we're going to go under 3D view. We're going to go to camera. And how this works is you click and drag, and it's going to create a view. So I'm going to drag all the way like that and release. I'm going to set an angle. Okay, let me press escape. Let me do that again. I want to do it from this side and then click. And then you will notice it generates this 3D view. And I can move around and stuff. So you can see how everything is coming together so far. Okay. So we have created the foundation structure and the terrain. And this is how we are looking currently. All right. So the idea is I did modify my version of the drawing. If you remember when I did this, I changed it slightly, made some adjustments, but it's pretty much the same. So I will also post that video as well in case you want, even though we've gone past that checkpoint already, but I'll still eventually post it. Because normally when I do stuff, I just record it anyway. Okay, guys, so that is for the terrain. Now, as promised, those of you who haven't done the foundation yet, I do have some tips on how you can do that. So let's see if we can take a look on that now. Okay. All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start to map out our 3D drawing. And in order to get that done, the first thing we want to consider is to structure our levels, right? Now, for those of you who managed to look on the one that I sent last week, that last video, it's going to have some similar things. This is what the updated sketch kind of looked like. And I can show you a bigger view of that actually. Actually, it is in Revit. Here we go. And it is under schematic sketch. Right. So this was my side elevation. So I just ended up having 2 levels. And this was my plan. So I do have 2 levels in the plan. So when you walk up here, you enter through here, and this is that kind of upper level. And then you kind of step down to this lower level here, and you can come out onto this little mini deck that is here. So I purposely made it a little bit complex, just because for those of you who may have a level in your drawing, at least you have something that you can use as a reference. But I would suggest that you keep it as simple as possible. All right. Okay, let's continue. Usually when we're starting a 3D model, we want to get organized with our levels or our grids. So levels basically tell us what So for example, with the drawing that we have here, this could be considered our ground level, or at least our, let's just call it lower ground level. But here we have another level, which is kind of like the upper ground level, because this entire area here is pretty much our ground floor. So these are 2 levels that exist within our ground floor actually. So here is where we'll have our second floor or our first floor, depending on what region you're from, right? So these are all just different levels. Now, we also have a level for the water that's here. And what we can do is try to give them some labels. So I'll put W for water level. And I'm going to call this, let's just call this level 1A and level 1B. And then this now would be level 2. So all of these are different levels, and think of them as reference points. And we're going to set up these levels first. Before we start to model anything, we're going to start to define what these levels are. Okay, let's go ahead. Okay, now what we're going to do is, in order to determine levels, we need to be in an elevation view. So if we look over here at our project views, we're going to look for elevation, and I'm just going to pick a random elevation. Okay, so this kind of represents our elevation. And what we're going to do is, we already have two levels starting with level 0 and level 2. Now what we're going to do have the levels as a reference here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to our sketch that's here, and I'm going to take a snip that's there, and we're going to put that on our sketchboard. There we go. So we're going to put that here, and we're going to have our drawing here. All right, so that's our drawing here. So we're going to paste that here. All right, so now we can kind of get organized with the levels. So let's go on the east elevation view, and what I'm going to do is make these a little smaller so that we can see more of the drawing here. All right, so remember before we spoke about some different levels. So I'm going to put some reference lines here to determine what levels we're going to use. So we definitely have a level for the water. So let's put this in yellow, and let's make it a dash line. There we go. So we're going to have a level here, and I think we'll call this level 9. Then I think we're going to have a level here, and we're going to say this is the bottom of foundation. Then we are going to have another one here, and we're going to say, we're going to call this level 1 lower, and we're going to have another one here, and that's going to be here, and then we're going to call this level 1 upper. So we'll have lower and we'll have upper here. So lower is this deck and the upper will be that deck. Okay, so we're going to have another level here, and we're going to call this level 2. Then we're going to have another level, maybe about here, and we will call this Intel. Are pretty much the major levels, reference levels that we'll have. But in all of this, I would say that our main levels that we're going to use will probably be these here. So we're going to put those in red. So level 1 lower and level 2. Level 1 lower, that floor plan will show both levels. That's why I use the level 1 lower. Okay, so let's start creating this. Now, when you go to the elevation view, we're going to notice that there are 2 existing levels. So we are going to use level 1 lower to be level 1 here. So I'm going to call this L1 lower. Then the level 2 that's here is going to be for this level here. Now the good thing is that I have this sketch here, so it can help me to give me an idea of how far the... Oh my, I just realized something a while ago. The point that I gave a while ago, I was muted, right? So you didn't hear the point that I mentioned about levels. Anybody?
Oh, sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, I'm realizing that I made a point a while ago, but I think I forgot to mute again. Anyway, so I guess you didn't see the point, but you only saw the video pause. But anyway, what I wanted to say, I'll just repeat it again. No, don't be afraid to make as much levels in Revit as you need. Don't just think of levels as ground floor, upper floor, you know, first floor, third floor, and it done. You can make levels for everything. You can say level for counter heights, level for window heights, level for window sills. For example, you can say furniture level. And whenever you bring all your furniture in your drawing, you attach them to the quote unquote furniture level. And anytime you move that level, all your furniture will move. Or for example, if you need to put like stuff on, let's say, a countertop. So let's say you have a drawing and you have let's say you have a drawing and you have things like maybe some machinery, and the machinery is on a like a plinth. That plinth is a higher level than the ground level. And if you attach all the machinery to your ground level, it would be much harder. Like if you change your design and say, oh, the machines have to be 2 feet higher off the ground, then you would have to click every single machine and make them 2 foot higher. But if you attach your machines in that case to a level, then you just make the level that you call machinery level higher, and then everything will adjust. All right. So that's why you see me using as so much levels here, because you want to divide up your building using levels and grids as much as possible. All right, let's continue. These heights are. So now remember that these heights may not be exactly accurate, but it's a good start. So for example, this is saying that it's 11.5 feet. I could maybe just round that off to 11 feet and then say, when I click on level 2, I can just say let that be 11 feet, right? So that's now 11 feet. Now, if I can take a dimension and I can put there, and there we go. So we know that that is 11 feet. Now, notice there are some other lines that you see here, right? Remember, this is an elevation view. So firstly, we have this line here. That is our scope box. So pretty much all our annotations and everything for the drawing will be in this. Then we have this here, which is going to be our, let's just say, our boundaries. So any line or any model that exists beyond this point, we won't see it. This is just a kind of a reference line that we can use. So we're not going to use this right now. So we're just going to remove that. And actually, if you can see here, this is a section that is here by default, and we're just going to leave that for now. All right. Now, so far, we have created these 2 levels. So this is pretty much the height of one floor that we have here. Let's create some of these other levels that we're going to do now. Now, keep in mind that in order to create a level, we must be on the architecture tab. That's here. And we must go, if we head over right on this side under datum, we see where we have levels and grids. So if you remember, I told you earlier that usually the first thing you do when you're setting up a drawing, you're either doing levels and grids, or you're doing at least one of them, because these 2 elements here form the foundation of whatever you are creating. So let's create a level. So if I click on level here, this is asking me if I want to save the project. So I'm just going to take some time out to say, yes, I want to save. All right. So now notice I'm in an elevation view and I'm creating a level, and you can see where it's asking me to start to draw a level, and a level is a line with 2 points. So for example, I can say start here and end here. Now, when I draw this first level, notice a few things. Firstly, there is a new plan called L4, and it is attached to this level that I just drew. Now, this level is the same thing like this level here, but notice that it doesn't have this symbol at the end, right? So what we're going to do is, let's see why. So we can, when we finish drawing the level, I'm going to hit escape here. And remember how Rivet works. I can click on the level and I can see the properties for that level. So let me make this full screen for now. All right, there we go. Now these are the properties of that level, and I can go to the main properties here. And if I click on this, it will show me that these are some different types, some different family variations for this family that's called a level. So every object in Revit is pretty much a family, and then within that family you can have different variations, right? So this particular level family is one that has no head, so I can change it to one that has a arch 8mm symbol on both ends like that, or I can change it to this one like that has it on one side. So this is the same family type as these other levels here, because you can see they have the head on one side and not the other side. So that is why this looks so different. So here we go. Now this level is called level 4, but let's take a look back on our drawing here, right? We did have a few levels. We have one that's called bottom of foundation. So we are going to look at that one right now, right? So we could turn this level into this one that says bottom of foundation, and this one should be below the lower level, the L1 lower level here. So it should be below this. So we can move that all the way down, and then we're going to call it bottom of foundation. Then it's going to ask me, would I want to rename also the plan view that is associated with that level? And in this case, I'm going to start to wonder, do I really need a plan view that is showing only the bottom of the foundation? So that's going to be an important question. So for this, I'm going to say yes. So it's going to rename this, but also I'm actually going to delete this because I'm going to delete bottom of foundation. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I don't want a plan for this bottom of foundation level. All I want is a plan for my lower ground level and my upper floor plan. So these other levels are just going to be references so that it can help me to model. They're not actually going to be plans. So in order to not get them confused, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to no head, and that will help me to define, okay, so I know these are my main two levels and these are not my other levels here. Though if I do that, I'm also going to lose the label as well, and we can actually customize what these look like, but we'll do that at a later time. For right now, let's create the rest of the foundation. So let's get an idea of, well, we also need a waterline foundation. So I'm going to click, and I'm actually going to copy this. I'm going to go in the ribbon here, and I'm going to go to copy, and I'm going to go to paste. All right. And then we have our waterline. Now I can always refer back to my sketch here to get an idea of just, get a rough idea of how far these are. So for example, I can click on this here and I can go to my dimensions. I can just go up here to my little shortcut menu, and I see that the top of the foundation is about 7 feet, and the top of the waterline is about 7.9 feet. I'm going to say it's about 8 feet. So this, okay, I'm going to actually turn these on just so that I can see them. 7 feet, and this is going to be waterline, and this is the bottom of foundation. Right, I need another one for the top of foundation, so I'm going to copy this again. So I'm going to go to copy and paste. Right, so this one is going to be top of foundation. So actually I didn't have a top of foundation. I had a waterline here. Yeah, I don't need a top of foundation, do I? You know what, I'm going to leave it. Maybe I do need one. So top of foundation, bottom of foundation, and the top of the foundation was about 7 feet. Was about 7 feet from the lower part here. So I'm going to actually move this dimension up here and make this 7 feet. And no, I have these two dimensions over each other. What I can do is press tab. I can press tab to switch to another object whenever they're both above each other. And this one was about 8 feet. I mean, not minus 8 feet. All right, now notice that these letterings are kind of big for the scale. So to make it a little bit more manageable, I'm going to go over here to drawing scale, and I'm going to change that to a bigger scale, which would make my text smaller. So maybe 1 in 20. 1 in 25. Yeah, that's okay. All right, so let's make this a little neater. I'm going to actually grab this right at the neck right here, and I'm going to move this so that it's somewhat in alignment. There we go. There we go. All right. So we have our waterline, bottom of foundation, top of foundation, and we have our upper floor. We also need to have our level 1 upper. So I'm going to copy this and paste that, and I'm going to paste it above. Oh, it's actually pasting from here. So I'm going to just paste it there first. Notice that when I paste it, I didn't put in the height for it. And that's because in Revit, the concept is copy it or put it down on the sheet or in a virtual space and then revise it, right? So the rev is revise and the I is it, so revise it. So that's the kind of concept of how you use Revit. You draw it, then you revise it. Just draw it on the sheet. Doesn't matter if it's bigger or smaller, just put it on the sheet and then you revise it. All right, cool. So this one is going to be 1 upper, and this was, if I could measure it here, so you can see how the sketch is becoming very important, because we refer back to the sketch to get an idea of dimensions, even though in some cases we didn't really draw things to dimension, to a particular dimension. But the thing is, this is to scale. So whenever we draw something, we know that we can get a measurement from it, which is why we chose to refine the sketch in a drawing environment. So this is about 2 feet, so I'm going to use that 2 feet. All right, this is that upper level. All right, great. So now we have our different levels, right? And notice that these levels by default, they come aligned with this area right here, right? And if I move this, you will see that some of these are attached to this line. Now this line, as I said before, it's kind of a line where you would put all your dimension, your annotations in or behind, so that your main drawing is here and then all of your like annotations are behind this line, and it makes it just easier to manage. Now you can use it if you want, or it doesn't matter if you don't want to use it. That's fine actually. So in our case, we're just going to remove it because we don't need to have that line there. There we go. And we are going to, I'm going to go to move at the top, and I'm going to grab this at the neck here, and I'm going to align it with that right there. Yeah, I'm going to keep everything aligned for now. Doesn't really matter, but we just want to be neat. Okay, great. Let's save. Okay, now let's take a look back on our sketch here, and we need to now model these foundations that are here, right? So let's put this back here. Yeah, we can always refer back to our sketch here. So firstly, let's put in these foundations. Let's get the size of our deck. So the size of this deck is the same. That's actually this element right here. And remember, we might actually come up with some adjustments to our drawing as we go along, right? So I'm going to, in this drawing here, I'm going to go to annotate, and I'm going to go to detail line here. And I'm just gonna put these reference lines like here and like here. I'm gonna select them, right click and go to, I'm just gonna turn them into a hidden line. So it's gonna be dashed, and I'm gonna override the graphics of these elements, and I'm gonna make it red. There we go. So I can use it as a kind of guideline. All right, great. So this element here is gonna be this lower deck, and this lower deck has this kind of shape like this. Now, the great thing about this is that I can actually just grab, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go to my level 1 lower, right? This is the L1 lower, right? And we can keep track of these levels. Remember, we said we would have a level 1 lower will be our main level that we'll have our floor plan on, which is going to be here. So at our level 1 lower, that's here, it's this. We don't need this reference line. We can delete it for now. And we're going to go to modify, and then we're going to go to paste, align to selected view. Actually, it's not going to be aligned, but we can just go to paste, right? And when we paste it there, notice that we have our drawing. Now, this is from our schematic sketch now in our floor plan. So we're going to paste it there, and we're going to say okay to finish. And before we go any further, we're just going to select these, and we are going to group them. And we're going to call this sketch. So now it's easier to just like move this around. So pretty much this is going to be our guide for drawing our base, right? So for those of you that are just coming in, what we're doing is we already looked on foundation on the creating the terrain. So now we're kind of backtracking a little bit to look on creating the foundations, right? Because we didn't get to do that last class. I did give you guys a video, but I'm doing something that's a bit more updated, right? So notice in this video, we actually carry our sketch that we did in Revit in our drafting view, and we paste it on our actual floor plan level so that we can reference some of the dimensions more easily. All right, so let's continue. So now, firstly, our base is a slab, so we need to draw a slab. So we're going to go to architecture and we're going to go to floor. And once we go to the floor tool, notice that we have some tools here. So we can draw a line and we can actually start to trace this out, our slab. So I'm going to show you two different ways. So first, this is the first way here. So I'm going to trace out this base. Bam. So this is my lower base there. And then when I'm finished, I'm going to tick yay, I'm done. And it's going to show us a 3D of our base there. Now we can track what we're doing by going to the 3D view. If I head back over here, we will see that we have our 3D views, which is under coordination right here. So we can actually double click that. All right. So now that we've double clicked that, we can see that we have the first part of our deck that's right here, which is pretty cool. All right. Now we can actually dock this like this. So we could have our floor plan and our 3D at the same time. So if I click on this, it will highlight over here, which is like super useful. Now, if you notice here, you will also notice, this is just a key pointer over here. You'll also notice that they have these squares, and some of them are blue and some of them are gray. The ones that are blue are currently on a sheet. So for example, if you have a sheet, you can have multiple drawing views on a sheet, and the ones that are on a sheet are colored this blue. So that's just why you have some of them being gray and some of them being blue. So just as an FYI. All right. So we have the beginning of our base that's going to be right here. Right. Now we need to draw the other side of our base. But before we do that, when we click on this, we see that it is a floor slab, and the family type that it is generic 12 inches thick. If I click on this, you will see some other options here. So for example, you can see 300 millimeter, 150 millimeter. So let's choose 150 millimeter here. So notice that it's now thinner. Also know that this is hosted on the level 1 lower, right? So if we take a look back at our sketch, we'll see that. So the slab is here, and in Revit, the slabs are mounted on the face, by the face of the object. So for example, if I should go back to my elevation view, you will see that this is where the slab is. And actually the right view to have so that it lines up with this, I think is going to be, it's going to be this view. Right, so this is going to be our south view, south elevation. So we're going to close these others here. Right, so let's bring these in a little closer. And I'm going to use my move tool, move them in a little closer here. So just so that it's closer to our object here. And also, let's change this back here. We're going to make this about 1 in 25. So now we can keep track of where our levels are. Now there's a shortcut. MV is a shortcut from move. So if I hit MV, I can now move MV. Let's move these a little closer. Yeah, so that we can keep track of where we are. All right, so we've drawn this part here. Now we need to draw this upper deck that's going to be here. And then there's this ramp in between. Now to draw this upper deck, I'm going to go back to architecture and then go to floor. But this time, before I start drawing, I'm going to say this one should be on my level 1 upper, because that's the level it should be on. And I could use the boundary line tool again, but this time I'm going to use one of the greatest features in Revit ever, right? And that is the pick line tool. So I'm going to click that and I'm going to pick a line, and it will just use that line as the boundaries. Like this makes life so much easier. All right, so I'm going to pick line and pick. Now, if you notice when I'm picking, some of them are not exactly lining up. Like obviously this should go like this and like this, but guess what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So now I'm going to use the trim extend tool, and I'm going to trim that to there, trim this to there, trim that to there, and trim that to there. And voila, you have your slab. Then choose OK. And notice now I have a slab that is here and one that is here. right? And so we do have our drawing here that we're going to use as reference. Actually, this should be, I think, north view. Let's see. Actually, so right. So this, if we take a look on this now, so this here is our lower deck. That's here, and this here is our upper deck. That's here. So you can see we're starting to create our base. All right, let's proceed. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to click on this deck here, and we're going to say we're going to make it 150 millimeters. All right, the space in between these should have the ramp that is here. Let's move these levels down a little more now. So I'm going to use the move tool and move them to about here, so we can clearly see where we're at. All right, now something else, this here is also flat. So as a part of our deck, it should come up to this point. So what we're going to do is modify the boundaries of this floor slab. So with it selected, we're going to go to edit boundary, the top, and we're simply going to, let's add a rectangle. And we're going to draw a rectangle here, because this should be a part of our boundary. Now notice that we get this error here because it's telling us that there are lines that overlapped, and it's going to show us that line actually, which is highlighted in yellow. So the line should have gone like this, right? So, you know, that is Rivet for you. It's going to help you to draw actually. So I'm going to click this line here, and I'm going to delete it. And for this line, I'm going to just drag it down, and I will just snap it there. It should be fine. Now also notice that these lines have thicknesses to them. If you don't want to show them, you can click on this button here, and then everything will be thin lines, but we're going to leave it on thick just for now because it's visually helping us. We're going to choose OK. Then notice our slab has changed here. So if we look at the 3D view, this is what we have for our slab. We have the lower level here. We're going to have some stairs that's here. We're going to have a ramp that is here. Actually, let's modify this again, because this actually should cut out like this. So we're going to go to the edge, and this time we're going to take out this piece here. Yes, we're going to get an error message. That's fine. We already know the problem, and that is because of, I'm going to select the modify tool, delete that, and delete that, and delete that, and we're going to just drag this down to here and choose OK. All right, there we go. So this space here is where we'd have the ramp. That's going to be actually a pretty steep ramp, so we're probably going to have to change that into a step, I think. We'll see. All right, then we have this, we have our upper level that is here as well. And then we have some stairs here. So we have some stairs that we need to draw. Now, before we go any further, let us deal with the foundation first. So we do, according to our sketch, if I look back on my schematic sketch, we do have these foundation stilts to draw. And then we have these concrete stilts that are in the ground. So we're going to draw these now. And if we look back at how we did this, the plan was that we actually had another level that's here. And we call this top of foundation actually. So let's put that there. We call this top of foundation. So we're going to have a box, and it's going to go from the bottom of foundation to the top of foundation. So we can actually, let's try and do that in the 3D view, right? Now, if you notice in the 3D view, you see it gives you all of your levels in one space. So we can actually even delete this because we don't need the scope box, just to make it neater. So I can select these levels that's here, all of these levels, and I can actually, I'm going to move them and make it a little bigger. So what I'm doing is I'm actually moving my levels to the area of my drawing, which it just makes it a little bit visually easier to understand. So I'm actually just doing this. Now we can align these a bit later, so it doesn't matter if it's not like 100% aligned. That's fine. Don't worry about it. But right now, we just want to align these. All right, cool. So now you can see that we have our levels pretty much in the same zone, and we're going to align these a little later. But from this, we can, so if I click on this level, you get an indication of where that level is in comparison to your drawing, and it just makes the process so much easier, right? Okay, cool. All right, so we're going to continue. So now we're going to deal with the foundation that's below. Now, to do this easily, we're going to go to our plan view, and we didn't really sketch where the foundations would be. This is our sketch here. Let's not get it mixed up. So what we can do is, this is a group, so we can go into the group, and I can select everything here, and I'm going to only select the lines. I'm going to deselect this, and I'm going to make all of these lines, I'm going to override it. So I'm going to go to right click, and I'm going to go to override by element, and I'm going to make these maybe gray or orange or something that's a different color, so I can know that these are my sketch drawings that are here. And then within that, I have my 3D drawings. Right, now we need to have an idea of where these foundations are, and this is something we didn't determine in the sketch, and that's okay. So we're going to determine that now. So this is where we're going to need our grids, because our grids are going to help us to align these foundations. Now to use grids, we have to use it in a plan view. So for right now, I'm going to make this side a little smaller because we're going to care more about this side for right now. So I'm going to grab my grids, and remember the concept of revise it. So I'm just going to draw a grid where I think it should be. And I'm going to just draw it here. These aren't like, I'm not measuring it now, I'm just drawing it. And if you can see from this very rough sketch, I'm pretty much saying that where these intersect, there will be a column there, a foundation, right? But I don't know yet. I'm just drawing first, and then I will make it up fully later, right? So I'm drawing this here because I think I'm going to have one here and one here. And this is 2 levels, so I probably need to have one on this side as well. All right, so now I've kind of drawn them in. I'm going to change the scale to maybe 1 in 50, something that's a little smaller, so these bubbles aren't so big. And the rough idea is that I want to have I'll have a column there, maybe there, and there, maybe one here, one here, one here, one. Remember, you have this deck that's here. So I think this column is going to serve for both of these decks. I'm going to put this here. This one is a little weird. So this is why we have grids. So maybe I wouldn't put one here. Maybe I would put one here instead, I think. All right, so let's leave one there. And you see what I'm doing now, I'm actually just making this up. I'm kind of designing what the column grid should be. Now, in the real world, this might be done by a construction engineer or someone like that. But as the architect and designer, you should have an idea where these would be as well. And then the structural engineer can say, okay, no, you actually need to have a column, here or wherever, right? So, all right, so I think that's where I'm going to put these. So if I go back to my grid, so I'm going to have a column on the grid, on where the both of the levels meet. So at the top of the stairs. So, okay, let's delete that. Right, so I'm going to have one here, and I'm going to use the move tool. So I'm going to go MV, and I'm going to move it to here. So notice how this sketch that we did is becoming very useful. We're actually using some parts of the sketch. Now for this, I want to have a grid here. Now I'm probably going to keep the column grid going along the edge here. So I'm going to move this here. And another way I could do this, I can use the align tool. So instead of moving it and snapping it here, I can go to align, and I can click the edge, then click the line, and it will just snap to that. And if I wanted to, I could actually lock it, but I'm not going to lock it, or constrain it would be the proper term. All right, but I want this to offset at least maybe, because I think these are going to be, actually, now I'm even wondering what's the best way to do these. I think the columns are going to be right on the edge of here. And this is where we come to our foundation drawings. If we look back at some notes that we have here, we can get an idea of what a foundation, what is the structural arrangement of some typical foundations that are used. So these are some typical joints that are used in foundation and in stilt foundation. So we can choose, okay, how do we expect this to work? Like, okay, this is how it could be mounted to the base, but here, are we going to use something like this, where we have 2 members like this, 2 members like this, and then the board sits between it? We could use this arrangement. So let's try and work with this arrangement. So if we're going to use this arrangement, then these columns would actually be a little bit outside the base, right? And we're going to assume that this is maybe a 4x4. Let's make it a bit thicker. Let's say it's a 6" by 6", right? Just for our purposes. So in that case, that would put that column here. So we can click on this and we can say, okay, we want this to be, so I'm going to go to my move tool, and if it's 6 inches, like this is going to be 3 inches. So it's 3 inches that way. So one of my columns would be here and one would be here, right? Actually, no, it would be 6 inches, because this is to the center of the column. So for example, my column would sit kind of like that, and this would measure 6 inches, but this actually should be on the edge of the, so this is my base. So this actually sits on the outside of the base, and then you would have the wood members sitting kind of like this. Forgive this horrible sketch, I'm using the mouse. And then we'd have another member that sits here like that, right? And then you have the rest of the boards that sit like this. And that is how this particular detail would work, right? So if that's the case, then this should be 6 inches off of the edge of that. So we are going to adjust that. So we're going to make this 6. So we're going to move this MV to move and move this 3 inches again. There we go. So if we use our dimension tool and check it, yeah, there we go. And we can actually move this like here. There we go. So this is about 6 inches off the edge there. All right. Okay. So we're going to have one column here and we're going to choose how to do this. I think we need to have the next one. So we're going to move this down here and then we're going to offset this 6 inches like that. So just so that we can get an idea of what's happening, we can actually go to annotate and use the detail line. And I can draw this box here and I can make it just, there we go, 6 inches and this 6 inches. And I'm just going to group it together. I'm going to call it temp column because it's just temporary. All right. So I'm going to just move that here just for now. All right. So this is where it would be. And actually, I think that it should be up here. So yeah, I was actually right first time. I should have this here. Sometimes it's so good to visually see how something works. So this should be 3 inches. Yeah. Because this is where the column would be, and then it would be supported this way, and this would now travel all the way over here, and then you'd have a next column on the outer edges there. As for the edge here, oh, this is actually the edge here. So we're going to have another one maybe here. Yeah. So this one should actually be here, and then we're going to move this. I'm going to say 3 inches. Right. So we're going to have a next column over there. Okay, great. Then we're going to have one at the beginning of the step, which is going to be right here. So this is already there at the beginning of the step. Let me move this up a little bit. All right. And then we're going to have one here. So this is already kind of done for us. We're going to adjust this to the edge of that. Then the next one, I think we need to have one at this edge here. And I'm just doing this based of common sense, so I am not a structural engineer, but we can use common sense to say, hey, I think we're going to need a column at the end here, column at the end here, just because of what we're doing. Yeah. So we want this column to land, I think, over here. So we're going to offset this. So we're going to go move. We're going to move this 3 inches. And then I'm going to actually copy. Now, the next thing is we need to kind of organize these because they're all over the place. 7, 2, 6, 4. And so usually we put letters on one side and numbers on another side. So we can refer to column, A4 or B6, but we revise it. Remember that method. So we draw it and we revise it. So we're going to continue. All right, so this one here, we're going to move to, and we're going to move, and we're going to offset this by 3 inches. And yeah, so let's see. So we're going to have a column here. So we need to have another grid. So I'm going to copy this grid. I'm going to put this grid here. And then I'm going to go to move. I'm going to make this 6 inches before. No, I mean 3 inches. All right, there we go. So we're going to have this here. So we're going to have a column here, and then we're going to have another column here. And we're not going to have one here, actually. So this grid, I mean, it goes all the way through, but just so that we can visually recognize, I'm going to unlock this and move this to here because we're just going to have a column here, here, and here, right? So I'm, just for visual, I'm going to put it like that. As it relates to the deck, so remember that this inner deck travels along the edge here. So we're going to have to have a column. We're probably going to have a column here in the middle of the deck, and we're going to need one here as well. So I think this one is okay. Then for here, we're going to need one here. So I'm going to copy this, and the CO is a shortcut to copy. And I'm going to go to move. I'm going to move this. I'm going to offset this 3 inch. There we go. So we're going to have a column here. All right. So now that our grid is complete, right? And remember, we said we are trying to use this method for setting out our columns. So these are columns here. That's pretty much on the edge. And then we're going to have these guys like that. All right. Now it's time to draw columns. So we're going to delete this because this was just a temporary column. Now to create a column, we're actually going to model it. Now, there's a couple ways we can do that. We can go to architecture and we can go to column. And notice we have architectural column and we have structural column. So as it says, structural is for load bearing and architectural is kind of just to say a way that we can put columns into our drawings and not have to worry about inputting other structural details. So it's kind of like just a visual representation of where columns should go. So that's exactly what we need. So I'm going to do this here. Now, if I click columns and I just plot this column here, then by default, if I look at that in our 3D view, this is what that column looks like. You can see that's that column there, which is not exactly what we want. But as we said, draw it, then revise it. So if I click on this column here, Notice it highlights in our plan and in our 3D view. And then this is the drawing here. It is a rectangular column. This is a family. Now we can click on this and there are some other dimensions here, but in this case, they don't have what we need. We need a 6x6 column. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're just going to go to edit because we want to edit this existing family and create our own. So when we go to edit, this dialog box comes up and then we are going to say, okay, we're going to duplicate this one and then we're going to call it stilt. I'm going to say column. And then we want to put the measurement. So 6x6 and then that's 6 inches by 6 inches, but we'll just put 6x6 and choose okay. So that creates a new family category, right? Or at least a subcategory of architectural columns. Now we need to actually say what is our depth and our width. So we're going to say, okay, it was 6 inches by 6 inches. Now notice that when I put in inches, it's converting it to metric for me. So it's kind of a weird way to work. I would say that probably if I could go back, I would probably just put 150 here and call it a day. But I'm doing this weird thing of where I'm working in imperial, but I'm also working in metric. So yeah, I wouldn't advise that, but it's a bad habit. Okay, so we're going to choose okay. All right, so now we have this new family. So if I click it, actually wait, I'm going to change it to stilt 6x6. Right, so here it is, M rectangular column, but the subfamily is going to be stilt column 6x6, and that's what this is, and that's great. Now we can mass copy these. So I'm going to go to move. Yes, we need to save. Thank you for reminding me. And I'm actually saving progressively. So I'm going to go to save as, and this one is going to be 03. All right. So let's continue. So we're going to click on this and then I'm going to go to move and then grab it at the center here. And I'm going to stick it right here. All right. So I'm going to go to move again. Actually, no, I'm going to go to copy. So I'm going to go to that's CO. That's the shortcut. And I'm going to say copy multiple. Make sure this is clicked because now we're going to distribute it. Now there is a way to automatically distribute it where these grids meet, but because it's so irregular, we're just going to manually copy them in. This one is a little funny here. Okay, but we'll come back to that. All right. Now I realize, guys, that the time is almost done, but what I wanted to show you is that pretty much once you have the grid down, we can now put the columns at each one of the grids. Do you guys notice that? For those of you who are still with us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I
Right.
feel
Yes, sir.
like they're going forward, we can just finish it up.
Right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this there so that you can watch the rest of when I finish saving this class, I'll put it on so that you can watch it and so you can follow. I'm not gonna do stairs today because it's just the site, and as you realize, we could cover the site in like half an hour. So the main thing is for you guys to finish the foundation. I assume that most of your foundations are a little bit less complex than mine. So you should be fine. You should definitely be fine. All right. So I will save this and put it so that you guys will be able to watch it. All right. That would be for the recording of this class. All right. Now,
All right,
one
sir.
thing I would say, guys, is that if we're gonna keep on track, like you absolutely must complete these 2 checkpoints because you can't start checkpoint 3 unless you finish 1 and 2 because you have to put the walls on something. They can't just exist in thin air. And what happens is that if you fall behind, it's going to be a bit overwhelming to do all of them all at once. So I want you to use this as a hard deadline. You have pretty much the rest of the week, if you look back on the schedule, to finish checkpoint 2. Checkpoint 3 is very big. It's going to be like 4 weeks long. So without checkpoint 2, you wouldn't be able to start 3. And 3, as I said, can take some time. So I can't reiterate enough that on the Mondays, guys, you have to come with your model ready to add details. All right. There is only one train leaving the station, guys. All right, guys. So you promised me that for next week?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Definitely.
sir.
All right, cool. All right, then. So good luck with your studio. I'll see you guys again on Saturday. Remember, on Saturday is group 3 and 4, I think, time to present. So remember that. Okay, guys, I will see you again on Saturday.
All right, sir. I can talk to you before the class finishes, please.
Sure. You want to just talk to me here now, or hold
I mean,
on.
I can't respond for everybody, but sir, you know, you matter.
All right, hold on. Let me pause this.
So I have a question. Sir?
Yes. What I'm doing, I'm just it just makes the modeling process. I'm going to make sure I grab it in the center, and I'm going to snap it there. So now it's snapped 100%. So let's turn on back the thin lines. There we go. All right. So you want to make sure always that these are like 100% like accurate, because everything else that we build from here on is going to be based on these dimensions. Okay, so we now have our grids. Let's make it a little neat. So there we go. Also, let's align this one here. Good. So we're going to use letters on this side. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to say A, B, C. Now, if I had drawn the grids in the order that it should be drawn, then I wouldn't have to worry about, you know, these. So I think I should have gone the other way, because you know what, doesn't matter. 1, 2, 3. This is telling me that I already have a grid line called 2 or called 3 or whatever, so which is here. So 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I have 4 already. 5, 6, 7. Okay, so this is 6 and 5, 4. I have 4 already. Okay, so 1. Yeah, right, I do have 4. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, great. That's saved. So now we have everything gridded up. Now we need to deal with these color, these heights, and this is where our levels will be like super helpful. So let's look back at our sketch. So these guys here, now this is where we're kind of going outside the realm of our sketch, because at the time when we sketched this, we didn't know what foundations we're going to use, but now we know that we're going to use this type of foundations that go maybe above the deck a little bit. Yeah, so they may come up, and we could make those foundations form the balconies as well if we really wanted to. We'll see if we'll do that. Okay, so let's continue. So right away, we need to have these stilts going from the level 1 lower down to, we want to have top of foundation, right? So I'm going to click on these along the edges, the ones on level 1. So remember, level 1 is this lower level here, right? So I think I need to align these properly, because they're like visually bothering me. So yeah, let's align these properly. So let's click on this, and we're gonna align this here, and we're gonna align this there, and align this here. Yeah, let's just be organized about this thing. Yeah, let's go here. Yeah, we gotta change the scale on this, so we're going to go to the scale here and make it 25. Oops, this scale actually. Yeah, make it 1 in 25. There we go. All right, now let's align these. All right, lovely. Let's continue. Let's go to the south. So we're gonna make sure that all these are aligned. Yeah, good, good, good. And go to the west. Ooh, west needs to be aligned as well. So we are gonna put this to 5, and we're gonna align these. All right, so I think we're all aligned now. So if I close some of these views, I think south is the one that we're gonna use mainly. Right, so now here, these are all like aligned which is good. Let's also change the scale of this one to maybe 150. So now we can, we can concentrate. Also notice that when we're on the elevation view, it also shows our grids. So we see our grids and our levels. So this drawing is very like organized, which is great. So for example, I can select one column. I can right click and say, select all instances in view. I'm going to select all these columns. Then over here, what I want to do is I want to say, I want the base, I want the top level to be aligned to floor lower, and I want the bottom of these columns to be aligned to top of foundation. There we go. So if I zoom out now, then there we go. So now all the columns are lined up here and to here. Now, of course, these columns, so we're going to select all of these. We want these to come to the upper level one, which is this level here. So we're going to say, okay, let the top level of these columns go to the level one upper. There we go. So this is why we have these grids, because it just makes the modeling process so much easier. All right, so let's take a look on that in 3D. You can see that we now are beginning to have our base nicely aligned. Right? Okay. So now we also want to put in our structural members, because if we look back at our sketch here, so we need to have these members running along the edge here. So we're going to run some along the edge here, going across. Now to run these structural members, we need to model them, of course. And in order to model them, we're going to go to architecture. And in Revit, you want to always use the proper type of family for whatever you're modeling. So for example, if you're drawing a structural framing, you don't want to use a column, because a column is meant to go vertically. And in Revit, you want to use the correct category to draw the correct objects, because remember, Revit is a collaboration software. So for example, you might have a structural engineer, and that structural engineer is expecting beams to be actual beams, meaning they're supposed to be horizontal, and columns supposed to be vertical. And if in your drawing you're using beams as columns, then it's going to pose a problem for the structural engineer's drawing. But even before you get to that, it's just not tidy. And that's the thing. Revit promotes you to be very tidy, very organized about how you go about your BIM model. So for example, a floor slab is different from a roof slab, even though both of them are horizontal, right? So if we're going to create these members, these are not columns, so we're not going to create columns and rotate them. Instead, we're going to create structural framing. Okay. Now, in order to get these members here, we're going to have to look under structure, because this is a part of structure. Now, important thing to note, these headings that you see here in Revit, they are pretty much everything that has to do with that industry is grouped under these headings. So for example, architecture is a lot of tools that are used for architects. Structure is a lot of tools that's used for engineers, right? However, it doesn't mean that if you're doing the architectural part of Revit, you don't go over to the structural part a little bit to get some stuff, or you don't go over to the steel part. Chances are you're not going to be in the structural tab a lot, because we have things to do like rebars and all sorts of things that are heavily structural based, right? However, for things like columns, beams, floors, truss systems, some of these we might actually dabble in for architecture. And the same way, where if I was an engineer and I would pretty much live in structure and steel and precast and systems perhaps, it doesn't mean that I may not want to use a tool that's only available in the architecture tab, which has like windows and doors and roofs and that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. Though I wouldn't try to dive too much into the other industries, because for our type of drawings that's in architecture, we want to keep it about the building as a whole and not too much on the details of structural engineering and plumbing, because there are professions for those areas. So I'm going to go to structure, but I'm just visiting, right? And in this case, I'm going to need a beam, because in our sketch, these are beams. So I'm going to choose beam. And before I actually start to draw a beam, because right now, if I draw a beam, I'm going to be drawing this type of beam, which is an I-beam. So let me just draw it right there. That is what I'm going to be drawing. This is not the type of beam that I would like, so I'm going to delete that. I would want a timber beam. So let me click beam. Now I could click this drop down, and these are the different beams that you will notice are there. And most of these are actually steel beams. Now, in this case, and like in many other cases, you're going to need to import a whole new family to be able to have in your project, because right now the default is going to be I-beams. So while I'm under the structural tab and I click beams, right? So while I'm under beams, I am going to need, remember, if I draw now, I'm going to be drawing this type of beam. So what I want to do is I want to go over to modify while I'm still in beams, right? So right now my modify tab is asking me to place beams based on these, lines like I just did. But instead of placing them, I want to load a family. So I'm going to choose load. And this is where you need to have your families installed, right? So if you have your families installed correctly, and I'm using the US based family, if I click this drop down here, you will see this is the location of the default location of Revit families. So right now I'm under English Imperial. I'm using the US. There is an English metric as well, but we're going to use the Imperial because a lot of the types of families so for example, if we're saying a length of timber, we say a 2x4, we're really speaking about Imperial. So in this case, these are all the categories of families, and I want to go down to structural members. That's here. And I'm going to go under structural framing because these are the categories that beams would fall under. I'm going to go to structural framing, and I'm going to go to wood framing actually, because that's what I want. And then I have a couple options here, right? In this case, I'm going to choose dimension lumber and choose OK. And then these are basically the sub families within the family of dimension lumber. So for example, this is a 2x4, meaning it measures 2 millimeter in the height or depth, depending on how you explain it, right? So for example, and then in the width it's 38 millimeters. So what this is saying is that the height, which is here, so height is also known as depth in lumberland, and width is the actual width that we have here. So when you say the word 2 before, you're saying 2 in terms of the depth, and 2 in terms of the width, and 4 in terms of the height. In this case, it is giving us the imperial name 2x5, 2x4. These are terms that we use if we got to the hardware and we say, hey, we need a 2x2 or a 4x4, but it also gives us in millimeters as well. So in this case, we can pick. So I'm going to say that these are maybe 2x6, perhaps. So I'm going to choose that category and choose OK. And now I have a 2x6 length of lumber. So if I draw, that's a 2x6 length. Pretty cool. So, all right. So I'm going to delete that. And I'm actually going to go to my plan view here. And I'm going to draw the lumber in these plan view. So to do that, I'm going to click on beam again. Before I actually start to draw, I want to say how do I offset my justify. So for example, right now it's justified to the top. So what does that mean? That means that when I draw this beam, when I click and draw a line to here, it's going to be based on the top of the beam. So we need to set the level of this top justification. So to do that, we're going to say that, okay, so we want this beam to be on, if we take a look here. So these are the members that will run horizontally like this. So that's those members. So we want these members to actually be on the level 1 level. So we're going to say the reference level is going to be level 1 lower for the beams that are running down here. Well, actually, I need to put some columns in. Oh, these columns are actually in, but we're not seeing them here. So okay, let's fix that before we draw the beams in. So I'm going to press escape, because if you notice, you're not seeing the columns here on these lower levels. And the reason for that is we need to adjust our view range so that we can see things that are below our cut plane, right? So for example, if I go to my east elevation here, right, and I'll just go to a shaded view so you can see it a little clearer. There we go. So this is our column here. Let's go to the north and let's go to shaded. Let's go to consistent colors. It's fine. Let's go to shaded. All right, cool. Now this is our base here, but this is our cut plane. Let's make this a little bigger. Right. So currently, this is our cut plane here, and I'm going to put that in this color. Right. So this is our cut plane here, and everything above the cut plane is up here, and everything below the cut plane is down here. So as the setting is in Revit now, we can see everything above the cut plane, which is why we're seeing these in plan, but we're not seeing what is below the cut plane, which is these. So we need to change that setting. So to do that, we need to go to our plan view, and we need to go to our view range. And to access your view range, make sure that you are on the sheet, meaning that you haven't clicked an object. You've clicked the sheet, or you've clicked nothing, and then you will see the properties of your view, your floor plan. So you scroll down here, you look for view range, and you go to edit. Now, the important thing to understand about view range, it can be a little confusing. If you go to show, they have this very handy diagram that is here. And what this is actually saying is that, hey, this is your entire view range. Your entire view range is from here to here. Now, this is the stuff that you would see, and this is your cut plane that is here. So when you have a cut plane here, you can see up to this point here or down to this point here. So this is why you're going to see, if you don't cut through the furniture, you're going to actually see the chair and the table and everything up to this point. Now, in order to see below this point, we have to adjust what's called our view depth. And our view depth is this area here, where our primary view range is really this area up here. So these are the two things to remember. So these settings, so for example, your cut plane is going to be this. How far up do you see? Like for things like reflective ceiling plans and all of that, it will be up to this point here, meaning your offset. So you're going to be on level 1, looking up to a maximum distance of this, right? And looking down to a maximum distance of this. So there's no offset. You're looking down on the 0 line. Whereas your cut plane is offset at that, which is here. Now, in order to see below your 0 plane, remember your 0 plane is different from your cut plane, right? Your 0 plane is where you set your level for that floor. And then above the 0 plane is where you set your cut plane, which is what you're seeing here. So below your level, how far below your level do you want to see? That is what you determine with these values. So this value here is the answer to why we're not seeing the columns on the ground floor. So if we take a look here, I'm going to cancel this. We should be seeing some columns here, but we're not seeing them because they are below our level. So what we need to do is we need to go into view range, and let's have this up just for reference. So what that means is that our view depth, which is this section, this is how far do we want to see beyond the level that we set. Right now it's on the same level and its offset is 0, which means that pretty much anything below this line we're not going to see. So what we could actually do to fix that is set our view depth to be the level below. So now we will always see up to the level below, and then we're going to say apply, and look, now we're actually seeing the columns. So this is what we need in order to draw our beams. So we're going to go to beams. Right now, notice that if we try to draw the beam now, let's draw the beam like this. So there's a couple of things. Firstly, let's draw the beam. When we draw the beam, we're not seeing the beam, but of course the beams are there. We can actually see them here. Okay, so if we go to beam and we attempt to draw the beam now, you might notice that we don't see it in plan, but we do see it in the 3D view. Here is that beam here. Now, again, this has to do with our view range, right? So let's click this beam. Well, let's leave this beam. Let's go to the floor plan and go back to our view range. And essentially what we're saying here is that our view depth is fine. We can see below the 0 plane, but we're not able to work below the 0 plane. So for example, if we remember our diagram here, yes, we can see here, but this zone here we can't edit. We can only see. So for example, we can see the foundation in our plan view if it's not being blocked, but we can't manipulate it. But everything in this range here we can manipulate. So essentially what we have to do is we have to lower our primary range into this range here so we can actually see it and manipulate it. So the quick way to do that is we can actually say, okay, how about letting the bottom of our primary range be as low as the bottom of the view range? And we can do that if we say, okay, let it be the bottom of the layer below, which is bottom of foundations. So now the primary range will be below, and we are now able to work in the primary range. So let's choose OK for that. And now we can actually see the beam here, which is this beam. Now the next question you might be saying is, well, we can see the beam, but it's just a line. And the reason for that is, well, by default, Revit doesn't want to show you full details on certain elements because it might make the drawing over complex. So things like beams and sometimes columns, they might choose to represent it in its simple form, which is a line, because as you can imagine, if we have a lot of these on our drawings, it's going to make the drawing quite complex in its visuals. Now we can overwrite that if we want, just for our purpose, because I actually do love the fact that it's just a line. But if we want to show the drawing in high detail, we need to go down here to where it says detail level, and we need to change that to medium. So right now it's on coarse, which is, you know, basically low detail, but on medium, it will show more details, but for all elements. So in this case, it will show more detail for the beam. So now we have the beam here, and we can adjust it, and we can also move it as well. So beams are a little funny in how it is. They have kind of a structural grid line, and then along that structural grid line, you can adjust the beam along that structural grid line. Before we adjust it though, well, actually we can, but note that the center point, the justification is in the center, so we would need to offset it depending on where we place it. All right. Okay, so we could actually move that beam into place here, and it should snap, but we don't want to depend on that. We want to actually snap it. So we can use the align tool here and choose the edge of this, then choose the edge of that, and then bam, they're now snapped. All right, that's the beam that we have there. And notice that, well, this beam should actually be, this is correct. However, the floor should be sitting on top of this beam here. So we're going to adjust our floor slabs now to be more realistic. And a good way we can do that is by, we could actually cut a section so we can actually see what everything is doing. Or we can go to an elevation view. Let's go to an elevation view. So let's go to our east view here. All right, so we can see this is our floor slab that is here. And let's see if we can, let me carry you to a view where you can see that element here. Actually, I see what's happening. Okay. Over here, I want to show a different view. Yeah, okay. I think for our purposes, let us hide the floor plan view for now. So I'm going to choose hide. There we go. There we go. It's actually here, but because we also have this on coarse, so we put this on medium. Yeah, and now we're able to see this element here. So let's use this view, I think. This view may show it better. We got to change all of these to medium view. Yeah, so this is this element here that we're looking on right here. So let's also align it to this view. So I'm going to choose align. There we go. And right now this beam is here, and this is our slab that is here. All right. So the slab should actually be sitting on top. Now there's a couple ways we can do this. We could have another level and call this level under slab. I think I'm going to go with that level. So I'm going to say level 1 lower under slab. So I'm going to copy this level and I'm going to make it 2 inches. Maybe. There we go. And this is going to get a little confusing. So what I want to do is I want to move the title, which I can do, or I can just actually break. Okay, I'm going to move this down just one. Right. So I'm looking for this break line here. And now I can kind of break away the heading so that it's not so confusing. Kind of like that, like that. So now for this one that I want to make it, where is that dimension? Here we go. I want to make it 2 inches below. Now I can break this away like this, so it's a little easier to read. Now what I want to do is let my beam be attached to this level, which is under floor slab. So I'm going to call this L1 lower under floor slab. Yeah, I know it's a mouthful, but we got to keep organized with our levels. That's the beauty of Revit. It can really allow us to be organized. So what we're going to say is that we want the reference level. Right now the reference level of this is here. Now, the interesting thing about these levels is that about the structural system is that when you click on it, when you look in the properties, notice it says that the reference level is level 1. But when you click on like a floor slab, notice it says the constraints is level 1. So constraints is different from like reference levels. So notice that you can't readily edit the reference level here. And that's just how columns and that's just how structural members usually operate. They are very rigid in how you edit them because they need to be, because they are literally the structure of the building. So they're not easily like manipulated unless you really want to manipulate them. And additionally, I think it's set up this way because it's perhaps easier to work between industries like architecture, engineering, structural design. I think it's easier for them to like manipulate the model when they're collaborating when it's set up this way. So anyway, to change the level, because right now, remember what we want to do. We actually want to place this structural member here on this level, right? Because we want it to be below the floor slab. So in order to do that, we need to click on the structural member, and instead of in order to edit the reference level, we need to look under the modify, that's right here, and go to edit work plane. And notice right now it's referencing lower level, so we need to reference level 1 under floor slab. Choose OK, and now it's moved down to that level. Then for our floor slab here, we need to, the level is on level 1 lower, but we need to actually set the height of this, because right now it's measuring 150, but we need it to measure 2 inches. So, and we need it to be timber preferably. So in order to do that, we're going to have to go to edit type, and what we can actually do is let's choose a floor that is close to what we want. So let's see if we have anything here. We don't really have wood flooring. We could try to import it. Right, but what we're actually going to do is we're just going to change this from a floor. We're just going to choose a wood finish. Now, notice when you choose that, you're not going to see any difference in your drawing. This primarily changes remember, this is a subfamily, so pretty much it changes the setting. And notice that the wood joist is now 235. Now what we want to do is we want to edit this, and we're going to duplicate this just like we did before, and we're going to call this floor finish 2 inches. And then we're actually going to edit the structure of this. And this is interesting because this is where we look at how this is made up. Now here is the finish level here, and it is 20 millimeters thick. And it has the material. This is the material, but you only see the material when you change it to texture. So for this type of flooring, we just want to show the top level, right? Whereas this material, the way that this is set up, it is set up where it just represents the floor as a single slab, but defines how that slab is made up. Now you will see how that slab is made up, maybe like when you cut a section, but you're not going to visually see it on the drawing. So this is one of those areas where we would choose a level of detail. Now in our case, we want to actually show the covering on the top of the floor. So we're actually going to delete these other elements here. And we're only going to leave the finish. We could move this level down, and this level we will delete. So we're just going to leave the finish level, and we're going to make it be 2 inches. We're going to let it be 2 inches, and that's it. I'm going to choose OK. So that's it. And this is for floor finish 2 inches. Choose OK. All right. And there we go. Now we have the floor finish, and we have it in 2 inches, which is right in this level here, which is great because now we can copy this. So CO to copy, and we're going to stick it right here. Oops. So now we have this arrangement, and you can look at this in, let's open there we go. So we can see where this is our arrangement there, which is good. So now we have these structural members going across like that. Now there is still one thing missing because we actually have members going down this way that's sitting on top of these members. So actually I'm going to go back to structure and go to structural beam, and I'm going to draw another member going like this. Now this member that we drew, which is this member here, we're going to align this. This one should actually be, let's go to edit work plane, and this one should actually be under floor slab. Then we're going to need another level. Yes, another level. And let's go to the side view for this one. So ideally we would want a level that is under floor joist. Let's call it that. So we're going to click this level here, and we're going to copy it. Yeah, there's a lot of level here, a lot of levels. All right, so this level, we're going to do the break thing again. And the reason the break thing didn't save is because we're in a different elevation view. So you have to do this for every view. There we go. So this one we're going to call L1 lower under floor joist. So this one is going to be under the floor joist. So now if we go to 3D view, we want these two members here to reference to be on the layer that's under floor joist. So now let's see, yes, under floor joist. Right, so I think we made an error there. So it should be under floor joist, which is FJ. Right, so choose OK. So now they're under here, which is exactly what we need. We need this to be under here, and we need the floor joist to be under here. So let's arrange this. So we're going to use the align tool. The shortcut is AL, and we're going to align this like that. And we're going to align, as a matter of fact, well, let's just drag this down like this. Actually, let's use the align tool, align this there. Actually, and that's the thing with the structural tool, you can actually move the member along the structural grid line, or you can manipulate the actual structural grid line. All right, so let's move the actual structural grid line. So I'm going to go to move and move. There we go. I'm going to move it down to here. Oops, is it there? There we go. Now it's there. All right. So that is what we are looking on there. So now that we have one corner pretty much done, we can just pretty much duplicate this to the other areas. And we can use a combination of our plan view along with the other views. So this area here, there should be some stairs that goes here. But before we put the stairs in, we're going to adjust this. Now, the reason, okay, so we're going to make the structural lines be, let's use the plan view. Let's grab the structural lines. We're going to let the structural lines be actually out here, but we can actually extend the member beyond the structural line. So usually you want the structural lines to snap to the structural grid, actually, like this. And then the structural member, you can make it, you know, whatever length. So for example, when we do this, so I'm going to snap this member to this edge here. And now we're going to duplicate this. So this is actually on both sides. So we're going to copy this and we're going to copy this over here. Okay, we're going to save. So I'm going to save progressively again. Now a key note on saving, Revit actually auto saves. If you notice here, you see I have some saves with some numbers. So for example, when I saved as 4, Revit auto save one called 4001, 4002, but I still like to save progressively, so that I can kind of track my steps. All right, so we are going to adjust these two guys here. We have to adjust one at a time, perhaps. Okay, so we're going to use our align tool and we're going to align it to this edge here and align that. And we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to choose this edge and align this. Now, even though we have aligned them there, if you click on it, notice that the grid is still there, but the element is aligned to here, which I think that's the way that Revit intended it to work, I believe. So now in this case, I don't think we would need a member on the outside here to be accurate. These would be on the inside. So let's copy these. So we're going to go to CO. We're going to copy it in the plan view. So we'll put one there and then we're going to put one here. And then for these, we're going to delete the N ones because we don't need the N ones. There we go. And for these, we're going to extend them. So we're going to extend this all the way to the end here. And same thing for this one. You can see that it's actually below the floor level. All right, there we go. So when you look in the 3D view, you can actually see those structural members going beyond that. So these are like the primary floor joist, and then you would have more members traveling along here, but we're going to put the primary members first. Now you can also do this in the 3D view, where it's a little bit harder. Let's do it in the plan. So we're going to choose this and we're going to extend this to the full length. Remember, this is the structural grid we're extending first. So we extend it all the way to the grid, this one as well, all the way to the grid. And then we can change the member. So for example, this is below, right? So we have this member going all the way across here, but it would actually stop here. So this is where we can use the align tool. We can use it in the 3D view as well. And align that and align that. So if you click on it, you still see that the grid comes all the way to the grid, but the member aligns down there. There we go. And I think we can do the same thing here, where we can align the member to be along there. I think we needed a grid in the middle. You know, it just seems like to be more structurally sound because this span is looking a little big. So I'm just going to select the entire middle, including the grid. And I'm going to copy it somewhere here. And this is where we can now deal with the spacing. So maybe this member needs to be in the middle of these two spaces here. So what we can do is when we click this, a good way that you can use to make sure this is in the middle, you can use your dimension tool and dimension this side, then also dimension that side. Actually, wait, let's go again. Use the dimension tool and dimension from here to here to here. And then we can just click this equal. and it will make it in the middle. It didn't carry these members with us, so we're going to have to move this. There we go. All right, so now we know that this is equal, has equal sides. So now we have a middle structural member, which seems a little bit more reasonable structurally. All right, now we do need to copy this column within this space here. So I'm going to use the word structurally reasonable is what it seems like to put these columns here. So now we have a member here, here, here. Now we also need to do the same thing with this, with these levels. So let's go to this elevation again. And we need to also have a level 1 upper under, level 1 upper under floor joist, and level 1 upper under. Oh man, okay, this is getting crazy. All right, so we're going to copy this, and we're going to copy 2 inches. And yeah, we need to totally organize this because it is getting a little crazy. So this one here is the level 1 upper, which we all knew already. This one here is going to be the level 1 upper under floor slab. Are you following? I hope you guys are following. It's about to be interesting now. And you know, some people like to draw with a lot of levels, and some people just likes to set the offsets manually. But the best practice is you want to use levels for everything, because if you decide that the level 1 upper needs to be higher, then everything you attach to that level will move automatically, right? All of the floor joists, everything. So you want to have as much levels as possible. Definitely, it doesn't hurt. All right, so we're going to copy this again, and this was about, this one was actually the length of the structural member. So I'm going to copy this structural member. Now if I try to copy this structural member up here, it's not going to work, because structural members, you have to set the working plane. So I'm going to set this to the upper under floor slab, so it's up here. And of course I'm going to set this floor slab again. I'm going to change this to the one that we made, which was floor finish 2 inches, like that. So now this is under that, and then this now will be under here. All right, and let's align that with other levels, and let's also make this a little bit more neat. There we go. So this is now, okay, wait for it guys, this is going to be interesting. Level 1 upper under floor joist. Yeah, so now this is under here. So now we have this structural member. I'm going to align it from here to here, and this member here, let's look at that in 3D. Okay, so it's here. So that's perfectly fine. So all we need to do is to adjust the length of the element. Okay, let's use the align tool, and all right, that looks okay. We do need to fix this, because these guys here would need to fall underneath, I think. Or it could be that the floor is cut around these elements. We're not exactly sure as yet, and we don't want to dive too much into these details. So what we can do is do a top offset of 2 inches. I mean, negative 2 inches. There we go. Same thing for this. There we go. Now we also need a member running across here. Do we have any we could copy? No, we don't have any. So we need to draw one. So we're going to do that. So here in our floor slab. Now this drawing might be getting a little confusing, so we can always go to shaded, and we'll see where the shaded areas are. Right. So we need to now go to structure, structural beam, and I'm just going to draw the beam in first. Oh, wait, before I draw, I'm going to choose the reference level. So this level needs to be level 1 upper under floor slab, and draw it like that. And I'm going to attach it to the grid. I'm going to move the element, if I could grab it right here, there. Same thing for this. Then I'm going to align it, and then I'm going to copy it. Copy this over here. All right. And I don't think I need this element here. Wait a minute. This is lower. This needs to be higher. I thought I did set that. So this needs to be upper under floor slab. And so does this guy here. Right. I don't need this here, but before I delete it, I think I need to copy them. So I'm going to copy them, and I'm going to copy them here as well. But obviously these need to go down to this level because they are higher. So I need to go to edit reference plane, and I'm going to make this lower under floor slab. There we go. Then I'm going to copy them now. There's one more. This one is tricky because it's here. Okay, let's put it here, and let's actually, I had this one already. Yes, I did. This might actually look interesting, having another column here. I'm not sure if it's structurally feasible. Looks a little bit overstructured, but it's okay. We're just doing a concept. Yeah. All right. All right. Our base is coming along. We do need to copy it here for this part. So there we go. And what we need to do is we need to delete this outer one, and then this one here, we're going to adjust it to, I could just grab there we go. Actually, I can just use the align tool. Okay, coming along. Okay, so obviously these members here, they don't go all the way down here. They would stop here actually. So I am going to, but before I stop them there, I'm actually going to, I think I should copy them. I need one here as well. So I'm going to copy these. I think I can do this. I'm going to try and copy. Then I'm going to go to paste, align to pick level. No, wait. Let me see. I can go to paste, align to selected levels. And then I can paste it to upper under floor joists. Aha, it does work. So now I've pasted them up here and aligned them to there. Now, of course, we don't need all this structure here. So these ones here needs to be aligned to the edge here. So I'm going to go to align. I think I'll do this in 3D view. It's easier. Same thing again for this guy. Same thing for this guy and this guy and this guy. Maybe we should put another member here. I don't know. It might look nice. So we don't have a budget for this project. So why not? Our only budget is time. So we're going to align this like that. All right, cool. All right. So this guy here is a little weird. Where are you? What are you doing? This needs to be on the upper under floor joist. No, actually, no. It should be upper under floor slab. Yeah. But of course it's inside. Oh, so we don't need that actually. Right. So, all right. So we do need one member going this way. Okay. We need to shorten these guys here. This one is done. Oops. Now we need to shorten these. So we don't need this member here. Actually, I'm starting to believe we do need them and we should extend the slab out here. I don't know. Yeah, I'm thinking that makes more sense. So I'm going to go to edit boundary and I'm going to make the boundary come all the way to here. And I'm going to do the same for this one. I'm going to make the boundary come all the way there. And this one, let the boundary come. Maybe. Actually, I'm going to leave that one. But this one, I'm definitely going to let the boundary come all the way there. And I'm going to choose. Okay. All right. So there we go. So this boundary comes all the way to the edge of that. Now these guys needs to be adjusted. So we're going to align this. We can actually do align multiple. So we can do this one. So that way we can just click that and then click that and that, and that, and that, and that. Maybe this shouldn't be extending out like that. So yeah, let's do that again. Yeah, let's choose multiple alignment. I think that's what I was looking for. Yeah, there we go. All right. Okay, let us save again. Okay, so I think we have most of what we need. I think this floor slab needs to come all the way to the edge, the line tool. Now we have some weird intersections here. So this guy here, we need to offset this and this. Yeah, we need to offset do a top offset of -2 inches. So now it's below the floor. So this one as well. Remember, if I need to select this and it's below, I can always use the tab key if I can't get it right, if I can't get to select it. So top offset -2 inches. Same thing here. I forgot about these. All right, so I think we have our base pretty much done. This guy here, we could carry this in to here. Yeah, let's carry it inward to this face. There we go. All right. This floor slab here, we need to adjust it a little bit. So we're going to go to the edit boundary and we're going to align this here, but we're going to align this there and we're going to align this here. It's okay. All right. I don't think we need this outer element here. Move that and remove that. It becomes a little weird when you remove it because they need to attach to these elements here. So I'm going to leave them just for now. All right. So pretty much we have our stilts. Now we need our foundation slabs, foundation columns. So that should be pretty straightforward. We're going to just grab a column again, but this time we're not going to use the, wait a minute, to use the architectural column. This time we are going to create a probably 2 foot by, we could probably use this one. It's a little big though. Before we put it in, we are going to say we want the column to be on a specific level. Okay, let's put it in first like that. And then we click on this column. And then we want to say the top should be on bottom of, no, the top should be on top of foundation and the base should be on bottom of foundation. There we go. So this is where our base is. All right. So now we just need to copy these everywhere. So I'm going to go CO copy and I'm going to grab this and I'm just going to stick this everywhere there is a column and it should be fine. I think there's a column here. Oops. We got an overlap. All right. Now, it doesn't matter that we have all of these here. Oh, wait, I think I left out one here. There should be one here as well. So I'm going to copy. This is going to be under the ground, so it doesn't really matter. But if we did decide that we wanted these column bases to be shorter, we could just adjust our level here. And we could say, or we could go to like the elevation here. And we could just adjust this. Like we could just drag it literally. Or go to the move tool and move it up like that. And then everything would adjust because we're using the levels. So notice how, let's look at this view. So notice how we have a bunch of levels, but our main level is, and I'm going to detach this so that we can see it. But here it's actually, yeah, no, these can be tricky sometimes. They're actually changing the level. Let's not change it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Because what happened is that you can actually change this value different from the distance of the level. So we want to change the distance like that. And this one, level 2, oops, we want to unlock it and then change the distance there. So these are our main levels. This one, level 2, which is associated with this plan, and this one, level 1, lower, which is associated with that plan. Everything else here are just reference levels, basically. So they are just there to give us an idea to just provide a reference so it can make our modeling a lot easier. Oh, wait, we do actually have to copy these. We have them here already, right? Oh, there's none here. All right. And we can look at that in 3D, right? So these are these members that run across. And these members should actually be lower. Oh, I see what's happening here. Okay. Let's undo that. We already have these members already. Yeah, we don't need this. These members that run across should be our structural joist, not our floor joist. Right, so these should be the ones that actually extend to here. So we're going to do a line, multiple. Yeah, so this, that, again, that, and that, this, and that. Yeah, we do need one more here. So let's copy it using this. We need one here. We need one here. So copy, right? Because that's going to be below. All right. Oh, wait, we don't need one here. Oh, yeah, we don't need one here. There's no column there. Right. And this one here should be there. All right. And with that, I believe we have our base now modeled structurally. Okay. Now,